Welcome back. I've come here with questions which you come across during an interview. So, whenever you appear for these roles in your current organization or outside your organization, these questions will be asked by an interviewer. So, here are a list of questions that we are going to cover. So, these are 20 important questions which you come across when you appear for the interview of the Confluence or anything related to Jira, Scrum, Agile also. But my main focus here is to have you the questions related to Confluence only. So we'll start one by one and we'll see the answers as well as the concepts behind it. So starting with the first question, which is, what do you mean about the Confluence tool? So if someone asks, what do you know about the Confluence tool? He just want to check your basic knowledge about the Confluence. So the ideal answer for it should be Confluence is fully web-based corporate technology developed by a company called Atlassian. So Atlassian is a software company that developed the Confluence. Next, the Confluence can be developed with the help of Java programming language. Confluence is mainly tool used by team to share the knowledge related to product effectively and help collaborate with other team. The main purpose of using Confluence include capturing project requirement, assigning tasks to any specific user, and help the team to manage calendars. It was designed and developed by Atlassian, which is a software company. It is developed with the help of Java as a programming language. It is something which is used to share the knowledge, which I told you about content management. It's a collaboration tool we see here as a collaboration with other teams and mainly used for project requirement, assigning tasks, and managing calendar. So this is we have studied in our session in Confluence. So this should be an ideal answer. You can even mold it according to your need, but this is a specific structure which I have designed and you should follow this. Now, the second question which you can come across would be mention the differences between Confluence and Jira. So we had a slide on this one. And again, I am reiterating this question because this would be an important question because many people think that Jira and Confluence are same thing, but it's not. Jira is different and Confluence is different. Although they are present in the same workspace, that's correct. But these two are different. A lot of other terminologies. Now, Jira is a process centered, whereas if you talk about Confluence, it would be information centered. Jira focuses on area of requirement management, whereas if you talk about Confluence, it focuses on the area of requirements documentation and reviews. Jira attributes and track the requirements, whereas requirement description, wireframes, process model, etc. are covered in Confluence. So from this, it clearly states that Jira is related to issue tracking, project management, and other stuff, whereas Confluence is more of a data-driven technology and helps in order to maintain the content at our site. So this is the basic difference which you should learn and you should remember because this is certainly a question which you are going to face by an interviewer in any of the interview. Now, what are the advantages of using the Confluence tool? During our session, we covered a slide where it was benefits. So benefits or advantages are somewhat similar. So advantages means what is the use of bringing a new technology over the traditional technology which we were using. So I told you the traditional technologies which we were using was mainly related to the MS Word, MS Excel, MS Access, where we used to record the data, save the task, and we used to see who are the owners. Now, what is the advantages of having Confluence over these traditional way of project management tool? So the answer says the following are the important advantages of using Confluence tool. First is easy access and search for information. So we saw that there is a search button in which you can directly search the project. You do not need to scroll down. So if you see in Excel, you need to go column by column or row by row in order to find any description, or you need to just click on Control F and then you type the content and you used to find if there is two similar thing. it will take you to two cursors. So this was the problem in Excel. In Word, you need to scroll one by one, down, up, right, left, because there is no search bar, correct? So, in that space, Confluence is relatively very easy because it provides you a search bar to search information. Second is documents and file in order. So we have seen a recent button was there in the Confluence page. So the recent button states that whatever task we have done, firstly, will appear at the top or recent, right? So that is also an important widget which is added on the Confluence page. So documents and files are in order via recent button. Possibility of getting restrictions and give reviewer a group. So we can restrict here the access, right? So the person who need the access to that particular Confluence page, we can restrict, and we can provide access to the group of people who requires it, right? That cannot be done with Excel or Word unless and until that is kept on any drive or something. So they need to create a folder and then keep it on the drive, and on the drive, so like Google Drive, they can provide the access. But same case is not with the Confluence, which is relatively easy. Achieving all version of created pages. So what we can do, we can archive all the pages which we have created here in the Confluence page. And if you talk about the Word and Excel, we cannot archive, but we can delete it or we can edit it. So that's also saves the space. Once it is archived, it is not present in the environment. So that's also save a lot of. Now coming back to the fourth question, which is what sort of conflict can be avoided by using Confluence? As we already know that Confluence is popular software application mainly used in the form of framework. The Confluence tool ensures the team gets effective results or outcome. So first, we can have the Confluence tool ensures the team to get effective results and outcome. So that's the first conflict we can avoid. Confluence is capable of simplifying requirements and help us to eliminate all issues related to product nature and sources. So that is the first. Second, which we can use. You can also find few other issues such as human errors and application glitches. These errors can be eliminated with the help of Confluence. So when you design or draft a project on Word and PowerPoint or even on Excel, there are chances of error because these are all documented formats, right? Where you type, you write, and you create something. But here we have templates. And templates, we just need to fill the information. We don't need to create anything. So this functionality of template or having a template in the Confluence help us to gain a lot of advantages over traditional methods. So by doing this, we can avoid the conflict which we have in the traditional methods. Coming back to our fifth question, which is, can you tell me some important factor that needs to be cared for when it comes to team collaboration and how does they matter? Here, the interviewer is asking you that what are the factors which determines the use of Confluence over traditional method and how it helps teams to collaborate with one another. So the basic of this would be that some of the important factors included are budget related to the project, quality of the final products or outcome, the scope of the project after done with accomplishment, risk associated with the project, help to utilize the resources. So it's more of a Confluence tool is related to the budget of the product. So the project or the product budget has to be initialized with there we have in the Confluence. The quality of the final product or outcome should be stated clearly if we are dealing with the project. The risk associated with the project are clearly mentioned on the Confluence tool. So we can analyze the risk, whether it's a medium, whether it's a high, or it's an XL or XSL. So that's called t-shirt sizing. So with the help of t-shirt sizing, we can estimate the amount of efforts required and what are the risks associated with this one. Help utilize the resources. So that's the fifth point, which help you to identify what resources needs to be worked on certain project. Even suppose when you are new in the organization and someone shares you a link of the Confluence page and say that please have a look. So you will go issues by issues, one by one, and you can just track that what are the things which are required in order to utilize those resources. So that's also one of the key point or key initiative which can be there. Now, the sixth point says that what is the basic aim of using the Confluence tool? Now, the aim means why we use the Confluence tool over the traditional tools, correct? So the main aim of using Confluence tool is to simplify the product resource and enable other users to work remotely on any project without facing any problem related to processing, information sharing, management, and raw data usage of the project. So that means if suppose there are things mentioned on the Word file, Excel file, or PPT, there is a dependency. There is no cloud-based server where you can store these things. Even if you are using a Google Drive or something, then it's a conversion task, right? You need to log into a Gmail, you need to go to Drive, you need to find the folder, open it, save it somewhere. Maybe laptop is not working or anything can go wrong, right? But with this Confluence having a cloud-based storage, the same problem is solved. So that is the basic aim of using a Confluence, that here we get a cloud storage. Things are on the drive. Just you need to have that link. That link can be open anywhere, correct? If you have the access. So that makes the life easy. So that should be the explanation. You should provide it to the interviewer that the aim of the Confluence is to reduce these burden and responsibilities from any of the team member. Now, coming back to our seventh question, which is what are the prime requirements for Confluence technology? So there are two prime factors that matters the most while you're working with the Confluence as a tool. The first, Confluence is a platform dependent tool. Secondly, this tool can run anywhere. So that's what I mentioned, correct? So first, the Confluence is a platform dependent, that it is not that it's the data is there on the Google Drive, you need to open it and then you need to start using, you need to download. So it does not require any platform. It has a link and you can access the link across the globe anywhere, right? Second, this tool can run anywhere. That I already mentioned. You have the link, you can use it in your mobile phone, any desktop, anywhere, correct? So these are the two prime requirements of Confluence technologies. Coming back to the eighth question, which is name a few important approaches that are useful in scope defining. So how do we define the scope? We define the scope of a work by having few of the impacts which we gather from discussion with the stakeholder, and that is done by the product owner or the product manager. So you can start answering this question in this fashion, like, well, you see a lot of approaches are available and they play a vital role in the development of a Confluence tool. Let me explain such factors as. So when you say, let me explain, you can go point by point. And here also I'll explain you these factors point by point. The first is analyzing the product requirement. So first, analyzing the product requirement is like gathering the product requirement, talking to the stakeholder, and then pointing out the points in short forms like user stories you can create. And with that user stories, you can create a product backlog. So you can do that way. Second is value engineering is mandatory. That means you need to value the flow of engineering which is there at your end. Third is the product breakdown management. So you need to have larger tasks, and that larger task needs to be broken down into small tasks. Now, the fourth is alternative analyzing a tool. So you need to evaluate a tool at regular interval. You need to see whether this tool is good or another tool we can use as a factor of association with one another. We can even have brainstorming session with people in and around ourselves. Performing pair-wise comparison. So what we can do, we can have the things related to one pair and another pair, and we can do the comparison between two things. So suppose we are building two products, what we can do, we can have comparison between two different products which we are having at our end. Coming back to question number 9, which says, can you suggest some ways that can help in compressing a session or a schedule of a project in team collaboration? So there are several ways available to compress a schedule or a project time in team collaboration. First of all, fast tracking of subtasks and crashing the techniques. So what we can do, you can have rollouts and you can have crashing techniques to test those rollouts. This is a wider way used and the best factor. Crashing is used to enhance the schedule making based availability of time and slots without considering the cost factor. Fast tracking is a process used to perform quick selection activities or any subtasks to ensure efforts outcome. The 10th question says, how do you define quality control? So quality control is very, very important. And what we need to do is that we need to have certain definition of quality control. So when we are doing these analysis at the start of our project, we need to make sure that if the quality of our thing matches these levels, then only it can pass the primary setup or primary activity. So quality control is a set of inspection used to ensure the required availability and also helps the quality outcome that I already explained to you. The primary aim of using quality control is to eliminate all the errors related to a task or a project. So when someone says, what do you mean by a quality control? So there should be a minimum expectance criteria in Agile. If that is met, eliminating all the errors, then that is known as the quality control for that particular project. So that should be the ideal answer, which you should provide it to the interviewer. And if you use that term elimination, so that can give you an impact to the interviewer that he or she knows what Agile is. So please use that as well. Now, coming back to question number 11, which is what exactly do you know about milestone approach? So milestone is like a target in Agile. So the answer should be in similar way. So when you're working with any team, the task and responsibility will be divided accordingly. Obviously, when you are working in a big Agile team, I have told you the tasks and responsibilities are divided. So we break it down, right? When a small portion of a project or some projects of an activity can be accomplished, this is a milestone. Just for example, I told at the start. So what we had a metro, which we were building between Huda City Center and Subhash Chowk, right? That was an 8-kilometer metro distance. So what was the milestone? The milestone was to achieve that entire metro. And what can be a milestone approach? Building that's 2 kilometers. So what I did, I told you to break that entire cycle into 4 parts. So 8 kilometers were divided into 4 parts, right? And 2 kilometers was the milestone approach for each. So that's called milestone approach. Coming back to question number 12, which says, what are the drawbacks of using Confluence? So we understood that we have the positivity of the Confluence. What are the benefits of Confluence, right? Now we need to understand the importance of the Confluence. So going forward, we'll see what are the following drawbacks of a Confluence, because we have seen that any software which is developed will have a positive impact and the negative impact. We already talked about the positive impact. Now we are going to talk about the negative impact of this one. So the following are the major drawbacks of using Confluence. First, by using Confluence, the scaling is a problem. As a product and product team scale, managing artifacts along with Trio and growing needs get harder. What happens? Getting things into place become a bit harder. Several PMs and team might prioritize the documents and customize the tool and workflow with their preference, which leads to fragmented approach to product management and which is not efficient in long run. So the problems keep on evolving, right? If you do not give a deep diving details of this one. After some point, you start feeling the pinching needs of something built especially for the project management need. So once the process reiterating itself, it feels like there needs to be something new which needs to be built up, especially for the product team needs. So these are the 3 drawbacks which we face in the Confluence. But that does not make Confluence as a bad project management tool. Obviously, it has advantage. It has very good advantage over few of the things. And obviously, it should be appreciated despite it having few drawbacks at its end. Now, do you think dedication and leaderships are prime requirement in team collaboration? The answer is yes. The team members with no dedication and leadership, it is very difficult to get an effective outcome. So this is a normal question. This is just to check how positive you are while just giving the answer to any of the question. So yes, the answer should be yes. The team members with no dedication and leadership, it is very difficult to get effective outcome. That's all. What exactly WBS stands for in collaboration or project management? So WBS stands for work breakdown structure. That means there's a large chunk of work which you need to break and work in a structural manner. Now, the next question is, name any factor that matters a lot while working in a team. So there are two factors which matters a lot while working in a team. First, managing possibility of software tool collaboration. Second, processing the coordinated task. That should be your ideal answer. So these are the 15 questions which we covered currently, and I would request please go through it. We have few remaining for which we will continue. What are the benefits of team overworking individually on a project? So that means I told you that Agile has a principle that here people are working an individual and they are self-organizing and interdependent. They are not dependent upon one another, right? Well, the answer should be like teamwork is always a better approach. So when you'll say this will give you a positive impact to the interviewer. So interviewer will have a positive impact on this one. And there is nothing wrong to say that when a multiple mind works on a similar project, the outcome are always superior. So that means a lot of experienced people, the set of developers, the product owner, scrum master will work, right? And this will have some sort of new collaboration. The prime factor is once one notice of the mistake of other can always give a better suggestion on improving the final outcome. Also, joint effort makes sure that few errors and quick result irrespective of the project. A good team can make sure of time management and delivery of the project without having a deadline violation. So working in a team help one to have a good approach. Different mindsets are there, and these mindsets help one another to gain something better than what they have, right? And this is how things work out in an agile team, where if suppose something is getting wrong, there are individuals who can help you out with a lot of other things, and that can be addressed very nicely into different domains, right? So that should be the ideal approach while using these tools. Coming back to question number 17, what sort of conflicts can be avoided using Confluence? So obviously Confluence is a particular team framework. Although team ensures excellent outcome every aspect, it has something more than what it can deliver. So Confluence is capable of simply eliminating such issues irrespective of the nature of resources. Moreover, there are problems such as human error, glitches, which can be removed. So hope you are getting some insights here, right? So these questions are relatively very important, and these will give you a brief idea about a lot of things, like things related to which are not in the mind, but obviously that helps one to have the association with the things which are not there in mind. Now, what exactly a project management according to you is? So that's the first question, which also comes if you are giving an interview for a project management. So if you're there working as a project manager in any of the organization, okay, and you are a PMP certified, so these are things which are associated with a lot of new association or new thing, correct? So the answer should be in a positive manner, and it should look like that you have worked on these project management tools before also. So every project has a team resource working on it. Managing a project basically means utilizing the right skills, knowledge at the right time, using the right technology that can be used in the form of different application. The aim is to ensure the final outcome should be completed. So that should be the approach in order to exactly managing a project management. Coming back to question number 19, like an interviewer may call you that whom you call a stakeholder. So that's a generic answer, because even from the start of this particular session, we have been calling stakeholder, 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 right? Product management goes to stakeholder, product manager collects the resources from the stakeholder, user stories are created, stakeholders are called in the sprint review meeting. So every time we come across this term, so maybe someone in the interview come ask you that who is a stakeholder at larger interval. Anyone who interest in largely affected due to project an organization is working on can be considered as stakeholder. So one who is a decision maker, who can make changes and bring changes in the project. For if stakeholder wants, he can cancel the project, he can make enhancement in the project. Someone who can related with the budget is known as a stakeholder. So he is a very crucial person. Without stakeholder, nothing can be developed, and that should be pretty clear. Now, while planning as well as executing a project, the influence of stakeholder is one of the very significant factor and thus must be paid attention to. So obviously, as I mentioned, the stakeholder is really very important. He can decide the closure, opening, the stretch of the project, the things related to finance and budgeting also. So he is a very important person, and that should you define the stakeholder. Coming back to our next question, and this is going to be our last question. So what do you mean by the term scope management, and how does that matter in the team collaboration? So that's something related to scope management, that what is the scope of a project and how does it match to the team collaboration. So that's a collectively question. So you need to answer in such a way that it should look that you have a positive approach even through a vision. So the answer should be its primary aim is to create hierarchical decomposition of a project into process. In addition to this, scope management include collecting the useful requirements, verifying, defining scope, as well as managing baseline in a proper manner. In a team collaboration, always make sure that improved productivity and better accomplishment of a project. So that gives you the two things. If there is a team collaboration, it will have an improved productivity and better accomplishment of a project. So that should be your approach, because these questions have a very good sense, and this have come based on my experience in the past interviews. These questions I have asked to the people whom I have hired as associate product manager, junior scrum master roles. So that's the experience which I've shared with you in form of these 20 questions. I would like you to please go through that. So hope you like this video, and I look to see you for another session with another topic soon. Thank you.